I got called Aswad. Aswad Walker, Associate Pastor of the Shrine of Black Madonna in Houston, is a lecturer in the University of Houston's Department of African American Studies, Associate Director of the Texas Southern University Urban Research and Resource Center, Associate Editor for the Defender Media Group, Houston Defender, and author of 5 books. The first book, 100 Monkey, Three Tales of Spiritual Revolution. Second book, Princes Shall Come Out of Egypt, a comparative study of the theological and ecclesiastical views of Marcus Garvey and Albert B. Clark Jr. Third book, Weapons of Mass Destruction and Other Sermons for a New World Order. Fourth book, Annual 0-1. Is that right? All right, amen. Fifth book, Stand Your Ground. Aswad's writings have also appeared in Dr. Juwanza Clark's book, Albert B. Clegg and the Black Madonna and Child, Kyle Gray Macmillan, the Journal of Black Studies, volume 39, number 2, number 8. He's written a lot of stuff. So jumping down to, he has earned an award. He's earned his Mastery of Divinity from Emory University, Campbell School of Theology, and a BS in Advertising from the University of Texas at Austin, where as a Herman Sweat Service Award-winning student leader, he co-edited the Black student newspaper, The Griot. I introduced you to Brother Aswad Walker.
Well, thank you, Brother Tamani, for even organizing this thing and putting it together and being on a mission to raise the awareness of our people to this issue of Project 2025. I'm bringing up a book called Reclaiming Soul and Earth by Dr. Juwanza Clark. We know that the United States has never been pro-Black. We know that every institution that's being impacted by Project 25 has already been in existence, not for our best interests. And so I'm here talking about the Department of State. The Department of State in this country's history has been about making sure that white folks steal our earth. Project 2025 takes it to a whole different level. They're making sure that we never sniff any part of this earth ever again. And first part of this presentation is about, well, what is the Department of the State? What does it actually do? The Department of the State's mission is to bilaterally, multilaterally, meaning multiple countries or regionally implement the president's foreign policy priorities, to serve the U.S. citizens abroad and to advance the economic, foreign policy, and national security interests of the United States. The Department of the State does not play. It boasts roughly 80,000 employees, 275 embassies, consulates, and other posts all around the globe, billions of dollars of funding with significant discretionary income. President Biden's 2024 budget for the Department of State was $63.1 billion. That's a 10% raise from last year's budget. The Department of the State has been and remains the American government's designated public tool of engagement with foreign governments and peoples throughout the world. I say public because we know that there are all kinds of nefarious background dealings that the United States does with other nations as well. But this is the public face of the United States. For a lot of people here in the country and globally, the Department of the State is the United States. The Department of the State is the principal agency responsible for carrying out the president's foreign policy, as I've already said. It represents the United States and other nations and in international organizations. Again, for a lot of people, the Department of the State is the United States. It also provides humanitarian security and other assistance to non-U.S. populations in need and otherwise advances and supports U.S. national interests abroad. It supports U.S. citizens and businesses in other nations. So it does a whole lot of things. It's America's supplier of humanitarian aid globally. It's a major voice in the nation's stance on immigration. The Department of State is one of the main governmental institutions guarding against global environmental catastrophe. So if you like to eat, if you like to breathe, if you like to live, what's going on with the Department of the State should interest you. The Department of State is home to the Office of Civil Rights, the Bureau of Global Health and Diplomacy, the Office of Diversity and Inclusion, the Office of Global Women's Issues, the Office of U.S. Special Presidential Envoy for Climate, again, dealing with the environment, the Office of the Special Envoy for Critical and Emerging Technology. And we know one thing about Project 2025, is yes, it's white nationalists, yes, it's the white domestic terrorists, but it's also those white evangelical, quote unquote, Christians who do not believe in science. So what in the hell does critical technology look like to people who don't even believe in science? One of the hugely underappreciated roles of the Department of the State is, though the leader of the Department of the State, the Secretary of State, is appointed by the President and confirmed by the U.S. Senate, the Secretary of State and the Department of State is still semi-independent and serves as a buffer against all power over global and domestic affairs resting in the hands of one person. Let me repeat that. The Department of the State is independent enough with its over 80,000 employees to provide at least a buffer against all the power on the planet over global and domestic affairs resting in the hands of one person. When that power rests in the hands of one person, you have a dictator. That's what you have. Another hugely underappreciated role, the Department of State engages in public diplomacy and international broadcasting, i.e. messaging, i.e. propaganda, i.e. whatever word you want to use it, but it's a critically important role. How does Project 2025 change the Department of the State? Well, it replaces all those 80,000 career government workers who have worked in those positions with Republican and Democrat presidents for years and decades doing their quote-unquote civic duty. It replaces them with individuals who have signed an oath pledging allegiance not to the U.S. Constitution, but to Project 2025 and to their president. They are pledging allegiance to what they want, an autocratic dictator. Project 2025. It also, one of the major changes is, because of this, it's going to end the guardrails against a dictatorship. No longer being independent, those 80,000 people who are employed by the Department of State, who will be fired and replaced with Project 2025 hand-picked folks. Those people, whether they're 50,000 or 80,000, plus the $63 billion that they have, will then be a national and international weapon in the hands of Trump to use as he sees fit. Also, another change, they will eliminate the Office of Civil Rights, radically curtail humanitarian aid. The Bureau of Global Health will push to end abortion, at least in white nations, and ban contraception globally. Proposed the nation's major agency, USAID, will rescind all climate policies, eliminate climate change from the U.S. National Security Council's agenda, and encourage allied nations to use fossil fuels, further sending the globe towards environmental catastrophe. Again, if you like to breathe, if you like to eat, if you like to drink water, and if you like to live, you need to be paying attention to what Project 2025 has in store for the Department of the State. And it also makes public diplomacy and international broadcasting serve American interests, serve, i.e. white nationalist interests, serve the interests of those folks who believe in the myth of white supremacy. And if you believe in the myth of white supremacy, then it's your job to make everyone else yield to your quote-unquote supremacy. To do it violently or to do it politically, but that's what they do, and that is the message that they want to send to the world. How does this impact Black and brown and grassroots people? By replacing those government workers, you're talking about, I think I've already said this, you got 80,000 people, 63 billion, 275 embassies and posts around the world doing what Trump did to the Central Park Five, doing what Trump and his father did to those black folk in New York when they were searching to buy housing, doing what Trump and all his other cronies can have done and continue to do what Trump did to the nation during his first term, allow for those who believe in the myth of white supremacy to feel empowered to say whatever the hell they believe and to openly attack all things black and brown and progressive with increased violence and hate crimes growing exponentially. This also means even better and bolder global coordination between white nationalist fascists. We already know that Trump cozies up with Russia's Putin, but also the dictator in Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, Hungary's Viktor Orban, anyone who is looking to squash the rights of the people, Trump says he's down with that team. He's going to bring that energy and that public policy and those $63 billion to bear on that view of the world. This is not for play. The end of the guardrail against dictatorship, that tug of war that I said existed between the president's office and the Department of the State, that will be gone. That will be gone. But that tug of war maintained at least the appearance of America being a democracy. At least the appearance. And for self-preservation's sake, it minimized the potential rise of a dictator with unchecked power, because unchecked power means you can foment war, you can stir up any kind of mess that is not good for business. Even the most traditional white nationalists realize that all power over foreign and domestic affairs in the hands of one person will create an unstable, volatile, unpredictable reality that is not good for business. And it will create an unstable reality that cannot be sustained for generations. Letting people starve on a massive level, here and abroad, letting people slide into abject poverty is not good for business. But these Project 2025 folks are not your traditional white nationalists. The most effective way, and y'all already know this, the most effective way to oppress the people is to give them just enough rights, just enough trinkets, just enough position to scrape by so that they think either they're okay or they're almost okay or things are about to turn in their favor. Project 2025 folks don't give a damn about anything. They're not interested in that formula. They want everything now. They're driven by the demographic changes they see in the country. Every day this country gets younger, darker, and more progressive, and they are fearing a black planet and are engaged in white supremacy's last stand. Their approach is unrelenting, unyielding, and uncompromising global apartheid. It is not a good strategy for them in the long run. But maybe it's good enough so that they can eke out another few decades or multiple generations. But that means we're talking about absolute hell for black people for at least another 10, 20, 50, or maybe 100 years. Project 2025 folks say that this check on absolute power, that tug of war between the president and the Department of the State should not and cannot be this way. That's their words. The American people deserve a diplomatic machine that is all about doing whatever the hell the president says. This fact cannot be stressed enough because U.S. diplomatic machine has always looked out for white interests above our own. Assassinations, global government overthrows, the killing of Walter Rodney in the islands, Patrice Lumumba in the Congo, the way they've been screwing Haiti since Haiti won its freedom, funding Mobutu in Zaire, funding Manuel Noriega one minute and imprisoning him the next. They invaded that Black island nation of Grenada. They take roughly $200 billion from Africa every single year. Then they give 30 and claim that Africa is this beggar nation. Lord have mercy, this next administration, this is Project 2025 folks talking, must take swift and decisive steps to reforge the department into a lean and functional diplomatic machine that only does what the president wants. It eliminates the Office of Civil Rights. That means there will be no national entity that Black folk can call for help. Historically, when those states and states' rights that wanted to keep us enslaved, that want to suppress our votes, states' rights that want to celebrate Confederate traitor hero, quote unquote heroes, we went to the national, the federal government for some help. Now, is the federal government our savior? Hell no, but that is where we went, and that is where we found at least some level of relief so that we would have enough energy, enough resources to fight back. They are saying to hell with all that. With the elimination of the Office of Civil Rights, there is no place to call. There is no person. There is no entity to call upon. And let's be clear, there is zero democracy in the United States without Black people. Democracy was only a word on paper until we got the right to vote in 1965. Hell, the year I was born. This was not a democracy. And every time democracy was on the line, it was Black folk that came in and saved the day. And so the elimination of the Office of Civil Rights is a big thing. Let me wrap this thing up. Radical curtailing of humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid under Project 2025 will be used to operantly condition entire nations. And if you know anything about psychology, or if you ever own a pet in your life, you know what operant conditioning is. It is rewarding the behavior that you like and punishing the behavior that you don't like. And so with those humanitarian aid funds that are supposed to be used to help people in need, those will be used to operantly condition folks. If you do what we say, we may hook you up with a little something. If you don't, to hell with you. And so if you are not with their white nationalist pseudo-Christian view of the world, you ain't getting the money. If you are for human rights, you ain't getting the money. If you are for diversity, equity, and inclusion, you're not getting the money. If you're for women having their full rights as human beings, you ain't getting the money. And so this is really, really no joke. The Bureau of Global Health but the Bureau of Global Health, Lord, this whole discussion on abortion, it's not just about abortion, it's about women's health care. It's about women being able to seek answers and help and support for whatever issues they're going through with their body. But all that will be under the auspices and the control of folks who don't even look at women as human freaking beings, especially black and brown women. And then just to close out, it's rescinding Project 25 is talking about rescinding all climate policy. Black and brown people and poor people already bear the brunt of environmental racism without any restrictions at all. We're talking about a catastrophe for the entire nation and the planet that we've never seen. And I'll say this and take my seat, that that last thing that I don't think anyone ever thinks about when they think about the Department of the State is it makes public diplomacy and international broadcasting serve American interests. In this case, serving white nationalist, evangelical Christian folk who believe in the myth of white supremacy. Everything they believe, it's about broadcasting those interests not only to this nation, but to the world. It is literally about broadcasting white nationalism to the planet and trying to get every white nationalist or every human being in this country on that same page. It is a dangerous, dangerous playbook, and we have to take this seriously. Thank you, Brother Tamani, and all those folks who are out there trying to raise the awareness of our people to this horrendous, horrendous potential reality, but it doesn't have to be the reality. We have the power and the wherewithal to create the reality that we want and that we need. You gotta stand up, get up, get busy. Thank you. Man, I already been up here for too long.
Don't I know? Wait.
There were certain mindsets of the bill that I created that transition. Clearly now we're in a different space where those things can be taken away. How would you recommend we get those mindsets back to the perspective of
I think one of the things we have to do is what we're doing right now. I'm sure if you talk to any sister brother who's over 50 years old, I've heard them say, how they take civics out of the school, where they teach our responsibility for running things. I think we've got to get back to that because we don't, you know, when something goes wrong, we are so civics ignorant, we don't even know what entity to charge up. So we'll just charge up anybody. And that's not getting anything done. But I think the enlightenment, the having these conversations, and Ada Edwards, the late Ada Edwards, who used to be the city council person for District D, she would always say that what we need, she would say it, but she would also do it. What we need is an elevator institute where we are teaching our people civic engagement and all those entities, or all those responsibilities, excuse me. I think that is a huge first step. This is how we exist as a people. It doesn't just happen by magic. It happens because we got some sisters and brothers, some human beings that put some thought and energy into making things happen. And if it's gonna happen for your generation, you gotta be a part of it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yes, sir.
So we have two political parties.
Yeah.
Of course, we should be independent, but at this point in time, with Project 25 being on the table now, which way?
So that's my argument, because we know we can see so many similarities, but there are also some vast differences between those two parties. In the perfect world, we are totally independent, but in the world we're living in right now, what must we do in order for us to fight another day? Like for instance, does anyone know when Black folk first got the right to vote in the United States? What year? Around what year? 1965, right? No, man, we got the right to vote in the 1800s. Oh, yeah. We literally got the right to vote in the 1800s, but because of white domestic terrorism, states' rights, etc., even though the rights were on the books, it took damn near 100 years for us to get the right to vote. The genocide that's happening in Palestine right now, the Palestinians don't have the right to vote. Apartheid in South Africa, folks look at 1948 as the year that it was instituted, but that is absolutely wrong. The Dutch and the British settlers came there hundreds of years before that, and they kept the Black folk from voting, from having a voice. And so what I'm saying now is, which one of these two parties at least gives us an opportunity to have a voice and to have access to whatever resources we need so that we can fight back and build that independent party? So for me, it's not even a choice. I'm voting Biden. You know, some of y'all may have an issue with that, but that's what I'm doing. Because the other side is a fascist and he wants us absolutely dead.
Thank you.
And so, you know, y'all can have issues with me, but that's where I am.
There is no issue, right? I don't get it. One will kill you dead, and one, at least we got the opportunity to build up our own.
And you got to at least be breathing to fight back. At least.
All right, hold on, another question? I got two.
Yes,
So of everything that you researched and learned about from the state,
for you, what is the most egregious thing that you came across as basically what they want to do?
That's that.
I know.
You leave it to Tamara to ask. That's a tough question because so much of it, any one of these things, if you drill down, you're like, damn. But I think for me, it's the last thing. It's the one that seems just so. It doesn't even seem like a threat. Where it talks about, well, the Department of State is all about promoting you. Make public diplomacy and international broadcasting serve American interests. I mean, that just sounds so benign. But it ain't benign. It ain't benign because, what's the word? As a man, as a woman thinketh, so they do. And if you can shape people's mindset, you can get them to do whatever the hell you want. Carter G. Woodson, W.B. Du Bois. I mean, they all talked about that same issue where, you know, you can train up black folk to believe that they are inferior. You know, you don't have to tell them to go to the back door. They will build their own. So to me, that is the most insidious.
Okay.
But that's the one that's on the surface.
That's one.
Hey man, you the one that told me I had 10 minutes.
Okay. So how does a response to this thing look to you as it relates to what they're trying?
Our response to this is my hair should be on fire, and I should be telling every human being that I know about Project 2025. It amazes me the amount of people who I know are incredibly intelligent. They keep up with what's going on in the world, and they know nothing about this. How in the hell? I mean, I am so glad and thankful that what's her name, Representative Jasmine Crockett and Ayanna Presley are bringing this to national attention. But Lord have mercy, it's got to be way more than this. This is absolutely serious. And I keep hearing people say that, you know, this ain't nothing, you know, black folk have been through stuff before. No. Yes, we've been through stuff. This is on a whole different level. But we won't know it unless unless our hair's on fire and unless we're convening this, and like you get these incredible speakers to come up here to try to elicit some type of response to this horrendous potential reality. And it doesn't have to be reality. That's the thing. That gets me. Hell no.
Yeah, okay, what the gentleman's question is, you mentioned hair being on fire.
Yes.
Use that all the time.
And my hair's.
I said you have it,
So my hair's been on fire, as you can see.
That's right. You mentioned that, but my thing to an intelligent being in an intelligent room, can your hair really be on fire? Like it has to be a degree of intellect or cerebral dissonance. I got you. Because if you don't, like hair being on fire, the sky is falling down, and the need to take hold of a community that's lost, that you're coupled with, like we're collectively shackled to these individuals out here asleep, and we're doing these nice little meetings, we're doing, and not going out there being the law, taking control, being the arms, like, you know what I'm saying? Hair on fire, but it never goes to understanding that it has to get that can hurt it. Something is wrong. And
I'll just say this. So I'm one of the ministers of the Shrines of Black Madonna. Our presiding bishop, he talks about the 1960s. He says those were revolutionary times.
right.
When the call was issued for black folk to stand up and make a change in the world, and we answered the call because it was in the air. He said, right now, these are not revolutionary times. You can't just get on a microphone and call black folk and brown folk and other progressive folk to, hey, we got to do something. This is an age where we have to enlighten. Enlighten has to be business order number one. Other folk have said it way more eloquently than I just said that you know, you can't arouse the sleeping people. First, you have to wake them up. First, you got to wake them up. And so enlightening them, that's why what you're doing, Brother Tamani, in your organization, what you're doing is critically important, because ain't nothing happening if we're not doing that.
But there's examples of, like, our military that go out and enlighten, it takes control. So, damn enlightened, we know what America is. In fact, we have disdain for it. We know that there's a conflicted, so damn enlightened. They know what's going on. This needs to be some enforcing, like a standard of like, we're taking control of this. And without that, damn enlightened.
I agree.
So,
I agree, but you're not gonna get the level of what you're talking about if folks don't even recognize this problem. We got people right now that do not believe that this can turn into a dictatorship. It is already moving in that direction. But you have people who are saying, it's okay, it ain't gonna be that bad, whatever. If you don't even see the potential for you and your children and great-grandchildren not having a vote, and that being just the surface level of oppression that you receive, you can't even see that as a possibility. Nothing is gonna inspire you to put your life on the line, like you're saying, and stand up and fight and take what we need and what we deserve, what we should have.
What dinner? Your mama ate the last time. You ate most of it.
I did, it was great. Oh, you will kill you. Like, take care of your kids. Oh, we won't kill you. Like, I'm tired of this.
You're saying
Yep.
take the Harriet Tubman approach.
Like, stop always looking outside and trying to build up this, get us under control. Stop always looking out for the, let's just get this little neighborhood right here. Like, we finna take control of this. This won't do it. The same way that law enforcement will come in, and the same way the National Guard will come in and fight your, are we not intelligent enough to see that? Am I like, what is wrong? It's like, it's crazy. I say this every time, and it's like, God damn, what are we doing? What? Man, without this level of, that's why I have a community defense chapter in my last chapter, economic defense, community defense, from internal cancers and external. And most of us right now talking about in life, talking about we don't know that's internal cancer. If you that stupid and you reside in our damn community, you are internal cancer. We need to get you to a place where, okay, you can be as stupid as you want to be, but guess what you're about to do? You're about to come over here and put your name on this line. You're about to come over here and vote. You cannot be responsible, but you're about to come over here and do some work and look like you're responsible. Otherwise, we're going to take care of you. And if our men aren't that, and our men, we're not that. That's the problem. I'm not, but that's where we're trying to wait. This, like, damn, we having like, what kind of feminine dudes? What kind of males like this ever in life? They're always begging for somebody else to come and save us and making.
I'm not talking about coming in and saving us. I'm talking about saving us.
Well, that's my point. We need a quick overthrow, overturn of this whole real engineering now. So,
I think I appreciate your words, and I think what you're saying, man, just have this seed to, okay, how do we actually make that happen? So it's not just words of this.
Yeah, you made me laugh. All right, solutions, moving on. Thank you again, Brother Swad. I appreciate you, man. Much love for you. As I said earlier, has always been a beacon of light and example of revolutionary commitment. So I appreciate you, brother. Got much love and respect for you. Solutions 5 and 6. 1 through 4. Learn and understand 6 pillars of empowerment. More information coming on that. Learn about grassroots politics. 3, become a member. 4, subscribe to our newsletter. Number 5, over 124 conservative white think tanks came together to create Project 2025. We need volunteers to reach out to our like-minded nonprofits, college professors, school teachers, critical thinkers, whomever they might be, to help us produce a pushback to Project 2025 from our perspective. Something we can create for the grassroots to do, moving forward, moving up, to create our own nation within this nation. If you are that person or know someone like that, go to our website, Grow4Care, GROW, number 4CARE, grow4care.org. Send us your information and we'll take it from there. That's solution number 5. Solution number 6 is begin to understand where you live, especially if you live in a predominantly Black space. Within a 1 mile radius of your home, we need to know where the businesses are, all the barbershops, the beauty salons, the churches, the streets, and eventually all the neighbors. If we had that level of organization now, we would have been able to reach out to every person in every zip code in the 4th largest city in the country and say, you need to be here. But because we're not connected, because we're not organized, we can't reach out and tell people to be someplace because we're not connected. Everything we have, we need, but we don't know if we don't talk to each other because we're not connected. That is solution 5 and solution 6. Our next speaker, Brother Shevis Watson, is a